Bad news. Force 25 solemnly walks into the police station. The sight of them causes stares from the cops inside the office who look around for their chief. Unfortunately for them, they don't know that he's dead. "Where's Chief Jackson?" the officer at the front desk asks with a puzzled tone. Once his eyes are still red from crying. "He's dead," Connor says with a broken voice as he slowly walks up to the desk, sitting Chief Jackson's badge down in front of the officer. The officer's face becomes a look of shock and sadness as the station falls silent at this news. Lance looks around as all the officers who begin to sob or hang their head low in disbelief. He doesn't know what to say. "And what about his murderer?" one of the officers says with tears in her eyes. Connor shakes his head before saying, "Dead, most likely," he replies. The officer nods before slowly turning away. Hiro looks around, reading the room. Most of the officers have embraced in hugs and have sat down to cry in an attempt to accept the death of Glenn. "Everyone, it's time to go," Hiro says. Annika stands speechless, hearing Glenn's voice in her head. "If I had a daughter, I would have wanted her to be just like you," she hears in her mind. "Annika, come on," Connor says, softly placing his hand on her arm. Annika nods and follows other heroes from inside the building. News reports fly throughout the city. It feels as if the city stops as civilians read and watch the news reports on their phones. "Coming in at this time, we regret to inform you that Chief Glenn Jackson of NYPD has died today at the age of 51 years old." Everyone hears the news report say. Audrey sits at her forensics lab and suddenly she gets a knock at the door. Audrey's head shoots up and she briskly walks to the door, opening it and seeing the disheartened Force 25 standing in front of her. Remaining the bubbling, smiley girl she is, she pipes up, "Hey, did you beat the bad guys?" she says energetically. Lance retracts his helmet, and when Audrey sees his tear-filled eyes, her smile fades. What's the matter?" she asks. "It wasn't worth what it costed," Lance says with a broken voice, as Hiro sighs sadly before putting his hand on Lance's shoulder. Audrey instantly connects the dots before putting her hand over her chest and tightly shutting her eyes as the tears begin to run down her face. "Audrey, Lance says, stammering and tripping over his own words. He tries to say that he's sorry, but Audrey stops him. No, just don't," she says with a broken voice. Meanwhile, Glenn's widow makes herself a cup of coffee, like she does every rainy day. She walks over to the couch, hoping that something good is on. She turns on the TV, and what she sees makes her drop her cup on the floor. The cup shatters, but she didn't hear it break. All she knows at that moment is that her husband of 25 years is dead. The pain that she feels is indescribable as she drops to her knees. The only thought in her mind, why him? A brown-haired young man sits at his desk in his tiny apartment, while his radio plays at full volume. Glenn Jackson was reportedly killed in the line of duty by Willis Stryker. Stryker's whereabouts are unknown. However, it is believed that he was killed by the Northeast soldier. The young man hears on the radio as he looks over at his closet. A red and blue spandex suit sticks out. Force 25 finally arrives at Glenn's home. They walk to the door, and before Lance can knock, the door opens, and the newly widowed Francine Jackson stands with tears pouring from her eyes and her heart broken. Annika steps forward and without speaking embraces Francine in a tight hug. Through her sniffles, she gives Francine Glenn's final message. "He wanted me to tell you that he's sorry," Annika says. Francine sobs harder. All she can understand is that her husband is gone forever. Weep not for roads untraveled. It's 2 weeks later. Officers, friends, and civilians helped by Glenn Jackson, Francine, Audrey, and Force 25 all stand in the cemetery. This casket is a dark blue that matches the NYPD colors, and Glenn Jackson lays inside, his hands clasped over his chest. Glenn Jackson was an amazing man. Ever since high school, he had always had a selfless streak about him. That's why it didn't surprise me when he joined the force in 2003. Glenn was always the man to put others before himself. During that alien invasion some years back, he made sure that the survivors had all they needed. New York just lost one of its greatest protectors. An old friend of Glenn says, remembering the man he once called his best friend. He steps down, and the pastor steps up again, looking over at the saddened faces. Would anyone else like to speak about our fallen brother? He asks. Connor and Lance look at each other. I think you should go, Connor says, with a low tone. No, it should be you, Lance replies. But they decide that they should all go. The four heroes walk up and the pastor steps back, giving them space. Chief Jackson did so much for New York and the people in it. He gave me a second chance at life, helped me become the hero I didn't know I could be. The hero that couldn't save him. Connor says before dropping his head and sniffling as he steps down from the podium. He takes a look at the casket before walking up slowly, and with a choked up voice says, Tell Link I said hi. Lance watches Connor walk down and hears him say this. His heart broken, his eyes empty as he clears his throat. It felt like Chief and I worked together for years, even though it was only a couple months. His energy brightened the city and gave it hope. He showed that even people without super strength, people without the power to use magic as a weapon, people without vibranium wings, and people without insane archery skills could still be a hero. And the power would be to do the right thing for those around you, Lance says before stepping back. Hero turns his head to Lance as he watches Lance step away. He then decides to go up himself. Getting to know the Chief was a privilege. He made me feel like a real hero of New York, and I can only wish that I could have done more for him. However, there's a saying I've always stood by, Eikanai yoru wanai, which means, for every dark night, there is a brighter day. And right now, that brighter day is the light of the Chief. Hiro says as he steps down, leaving Annika by herself on the podium. Her breathing is sharp, and she doesn't know how to say what she wants to say, but finally she tries. Chief was one of the best men I'd ever met. He was strong and was an amazing person. He was respectful and overall was the kind of man that anyone would look up to. Annika says as she begins to cry again. The officers begin the 21-gun salute. Every shot causes a memory of Glenn to flash in the heads of the attendees. After another hour, the reception is over. Some leave while others stick around, helping each other to accept the fact that Glenn is dead. Force 25 stands in front of Francine. If there's ever anything that you need, you know how to find us, Lance says. Francine smiles softly before nodding her head, saying, Thank you, she says in a soft voice. I can't help but wonder what went through Glenn's mind in his final moments, Francine says as she holds the folded American flag, given to her during the reception. Lance smiles. If I knew Chief, then in his final moments, he was thinking about you, and the fact that he helped save you, countless others. Chief was that kind of guy, Lance says in reassurance. That was my Glenn, she says. Anyway, I should be getting home now, Francine says. Force 25 understands, and in unison, they turn away, walking side by side into a brighter day. New recruit. You guys ready to meet the new recruit? Lance says as he swings through New York. The day is bright and sunny, and the light shines on the armored suit of the Metal Spider, like how it always has. Yeah, let's see who you're wanting to drag into this ragtag group. Annika yells as she uses her hydrokinesis to surf alongside Lance. Connor suddenly flies in on Lance's left. Ragtag? Seriously? We're at least defender's level, Connor yells, while Hiro hangs onto Connor's arm, observing Annika's method of transportation. I still don't understand how you were able to master this in only 2 weeks, Hiro says with a puzzled tone. You jealous, Heat Seeker? Lance asks. Me? Never, Hiro yells back with a chuckle. Lance points at the roof ahead of him, that's full of civilians sitting around tables enjoying conversations before saying, We stop here! Force 25 lands on the building, and everyone leaps out of the chairs, cheering and clapping at the sight of the team. So what are we going to do after we recruit whoever this is, Lance? Hiro asks. I'm going to take her to the police station to meet the new chief, Lance says to him. One of the civilians turns her head around, her brown hair flowing in the wind, as Force 25 walks up to her. Hi, Metal Spider, the woman says. What did you call me up here for? Is it for what I think it is? She says as her eyes brighten. Lance smiles before saying, Okay, Bishop, welcome to Force 25.